Okay, I think we are actually live right now. Okay, everybody, I am absolutely very grateful to be able to have quite a number of guests with us today. It's a bit of a celebration. It's been a while since I've done a LinkedIn Live, but hopefully I think what you're going to see is a bit of fun and something which I'm very proud of that's happened since we've started meetmagic a few years ago. And to be able to get to this point is really, with the team that we've got, has been really quite amazing. So I think to start with, I'm just going to acknowledge and give an acknowledgement to country. So in the spirit of reconciliation, we acknowledge the traditional custodians of country throughout Australia and their connections to land, to sea, and to community. We pay our respect to their elders past and present, and extend that respect to all Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander peoples today. So this is really exciting. So I'm going to be basically bringing in some amazing people. And the first one I'm going to bring in is the person who's helped me create this thing here called Meeting for Good. And it's Matt Geraghty from Starlight. Matt.
Hey, Carl.
How are you?
Very well, mate. Very well, and very excited to get to this point today. It's been a real journey.
Look, you know what? It really has. And I think, you know, when you and I sat down, what was it, a year ago?
A year ago in Chifley Tower. Yeah, I remember that coffee well.
It was Paul Keane, so you can blame him, your board member, who suggested that you and I get together and have a coffee. And, you know, we sat down and came up with the concept called Meeting for Good. And we launched it in November in 2019 with a plan. And that plan was to get 500 execs on board and to raise a certain amount of money.
Yes, that was it. And even when we drafted it up and signed the MOU, it still felt like a very big, hairy, audacious goal to get to that point. But the concept is rock solid, and it's amazing to see the excitement and how quickly so many amazing execs and vendors came on for the journey.
Well, you know, it took a while to get it off the ground, and for me, the whole meetmagic concept is really embodied in Meetings for Good, because it's exactly what we do at meetmagic, and it's exactly what it stands for, which is to help create a sustainable fundraising model for charities where they don't have to do too much and it can make a massive impact. Now, I'm going to now introduce, very luckily, the CEO of Starlight, Louise Baxter, because I know Louise.
Hi, Carl.
How are you? It's been an amazing year, huh?
It has been an amazing year. It has not been the year that any of us anticipated, and I think it has challenged us all in ways we will never forget. But from a Starlight perspective, Meeting for Good has been a highlight of this year. And I hark back to our Starlight logo, which is a child reaching for that bright, shiny star in a dark, dark sky. And I think that kind of sums up where we are this year, that this Meeting for Good has really, and I think we're only scratching the surface with this concept, but the whole COVID world actually put this into a position where all anybody had to do was provide that, 45 minutes of their time from home, and to see, and I know that you'll speak more about the number of executives that we've had donate their time and the quality of the meetings that they've been able to have through Meeting for Good has been absolutely crystal clear. But I think we can't move away from the positive impact you are helping Starlight to have. And Starlight supports children in every hospital right around Australia. Our vision is a world where everyone experiences a happy childhood, because happiness in your childhood is the biggest determinant of how you will succeed and perform in your education, your employment, and importantly, long-term healthy life behaviours. A child who is seriously ill has their ability to be happy really severely impacted. And this is what Starlight comes in and does. We deliver happiness, we enable that child, we're about the child within the illness, and it really changes lives. And it is all about transforming that pain, fear and stress into fun, laughter, and joy for the child and, importantly, for the family. And there's one story for me of Starlight impact that is one that is so powerful, and I thought it's very quick to share, but I thought I'd just share this. A little boy called Sam, when he was born, his father in the early weeks noticed that there was an issue with one of Sam's eyes. It took several months for the diagnosis, but the diagnosis was that he had a retinoblastoma. So he had a tumour on his eye. Then what was followed was 5 years of treatment to try and save the eye. And that meant that he formed really strong bonds with our Captain Starlights, who were there supporting him in his hospital visits throughout that time. The family then had to make the decision, because the treatment was not successful, to have Sam's eye removed. And so that operation took place. Then several months later, the parents started to notice there was an issue with Sam's other eye. Diagnosis of a second retinoblastoma, and 3 more years of treatment ensued. Then the family was faced with what I can, as a parent, can only imagine, a heartbreaking decision that it was either Sam's eye or his life, and he had to go in for surgery to have his other eye removed. The parents and aunts and uncles and grandparents were all in the hospital on that day, and his father said he was looking around and seeing how sad everyone looked, and he wanted Sam's last and final visual memory of everyone to be happy and smiling, and he knew there was only one way that could occur, and the entire family moved to the Starlight Express room, where they were dancing with Captain Starlights, happiness, laughing, joking. And I just think that if you can achieve that against that backdrop, and the power of that positivity in that moment for Sam and for the entire family, that is what Meeting for Good helps us to achieve every day. And if you think that every 45 minutes you give helps us to support 18 kids like Sam, that's it. And that's what you're doing.
I watched you give that speech at the CEO breakfast luncheon. I was heading off on a plane to Jakarta that same day. That morning, I literally came in for breakfast. I think I was sat with Matt and Andrew Matuszczak. And as I was traveling for 8 or 9 hours on that plane, all I kept thinking about was that bed and those people standing around that bed saying, why are we going to let this be his last sight? And I just realized that is the sole reason why we do what we do for stories like that, which is just, it's incredible. It's been a year, Louise, of when I came up with this concept of being able to connect business as usual for vendors, for technology companies, or anybody that wants to go and meet with a senior person. I know right now there's a lot of money being spent on waste of time, things like their lunches and stuff. I call it snouts in the trough stuff. They turn up and they sit there, they eat, they get drunk, and they go home, and no good comes out of it, maybe a conversation. When I think about this concept that we've created here that started right here, this could literally change the whole charity paradigm fundraising scheme all around the world. We have a dream of every business meeting, all around the world that has a powerful impact. And I think we're starting to see the shift now of companies wanting to do business with companies that make a difference. And, when I say the vendors that we've got on board, I'm going to introduce a couple of them in a minute, because they've really been amazing to us and have really helped us generate quite a lot of money. And I've got a bit of a surprise here for you, because it's been a year, and I want to thank Paul Keane for setting this up. There's a number here of $300,000, and I just know that that's going to help a lot of seriously ill children. And I'm just going to, we love magic, so I'm just going to pass this to Matt, and hopefully,
whoa,
there we go.
Oh.
Matt, look at that. I just want to thank the entire Meet Magic team for helping us to get to that point, because without Liv and Lily, Maddie and Lily and Colin and Miah and Geraldine and everybody else that's working with us, Ashton and Miah, and there's a team of us that make that happen. And if it wasn't for the vendors, I'm going to bring in a couple now after. I'm going to first introduce Libby, because Libby is one of our board members, and I introduced Libby to help me, because Libby's got a special background. She's been with the charity for a number of years. She's helped many charities, but she was 8 years the CEO of White Ribbon, and I just know Libby's going to give us some great guidance and keep us on the right track.
Well, thank you. Thanks very much. It's great to be part of Meet Magic. It's an amazing concept, and I think driving that connectivity between the business sector and the way in which the corporates work, particularly, of course, they're very much around creating focus on profit, but then utilising some of that profit and channeling it into for-purpose organisations is a fantastic notion. And the sustainability of those for-purpose organisations has never before been so challenged as it is during this COVID year, where we've seen a huge, I guess, de-escalation of the way in which fundraising can take place. And so this model, which links the corporate world and links it very much too with the not-for-profits and the for-purpose organisations, is an amazing, and it's a pleasure to be part of the interim board.
Oh, you know, Libby, I can't thank you enough. And I firstly want to thank Pui-Yu Lee for helping me create that check that we passed off to the magic one that got sent through the internet. So Pui-Yu Lee, thank you for helping me create that check. It's very, very, very cool. But Libby, yeah, absolutely. I think there's right now there's a shift. There's a paradigm shift happening. I think we're seeing that everywhere. Most of our customers are companies that want to do some good. You know, it's the Netscopes, it's the Auth0s, it's the Centrifys, it's the rapidMATIONs, and all these companies have an interest in spending money that's going to make a difference, not only to their business but also on society. And I think we've come up with something, and I think Meeting for Good literally is going to, you know, we're going to start the UK soon with this. I just know the model is just going to be exactly the same, and it'll just be amazing. There'll be so many people happening. So Libby, look, I don't mean to kick my board member into touch, but we've got like 10 people that are only allowed on the stream, and I'm going to have to kick you off so I can get somebody else to come in. But I just want to thank you for your support and for guidance, and we will talk to you very, very soon.
Thank you. Happy to.
Oh, oops, I cut her off a bit too quickly. But what I want to do now is just the whole story here is that, you know, Meet Magic creates these meetings, and every meeting has an impact. And people didn't believe this at first. I was told, don't be stupid, it's never going to happen. And what I've got on the on coming on here, this is unscripted. All we've done is we've asked a number of vendors to come in and tell us what your company does, tell us what motivated you to try the Meetings for Good campaign, and tell us what your experience has been like. And we've got Gabby from the Catch Group who's going to come on, and Louise from Macquarie Bank, who's going to come and tell us what their experience has been from an executive perspective. But right now, I just want to introduce. Let me have a think who I can bring in first. I'm going to bring in Neil Templeman from Baidam, because Louise, you and Neil have quite a lot of synergy, because Neil works for a company called Baidam, and they're doing amazing things in matching technology and impact at the same time in the Aboriginal community. So Neil.
Yeah, thanks, Carl. Great to be here to celebrate such a great milestone. So as you quite rightly, Carl, said, Baidam Solutions is a Supply Nation certified, Indigenous owned and operated cybersecurity consultancy. I think the reason why we got involved really after Louise's commentary around that story, it leaves nothing unturned as to why we were keen in the initiative. I think for us, being a business that partners with a lot of emerging technology vendors at the start of the year, we definitely saw traditional and physical events, you know, round tables, conferences start to slow down. So for business continuation, we looked upon our vendor community, some of which might talk today. I'm not sure what the schedule fully looks like, Carl, but we relied on some of our vendor community to start thinking about a smarter way to invest what would have been traditional funds towards a round table or a conference to something more meaningful. And that's where we got connected in the program, I think around about March time, Carl. Our organisation has been fortunate to be part of 15 plus meetings, and there's three things that I want to observe that Meet Magic or Meeting for Good has brought to our organisation: speed, trust, and humility. We have seen the ability for us to connect with a vendor, with the right decision maker, has without doubt added a level of speed to the way that business is conducted and ultimately commerce is generated for us. I think because you're absolutely connecting around a social impact that is so easy to quantify. That trust element in the meeting is unprofound, and the humility of the meeting. And I think, you know, whether you're connecting with a senior executive or any economic buyer, the goal for salespeople is to build trust, to get those barriers down, so that you can get to the truth of the customer's problem or solution or project that they're trying to address. So I can't thank the program enough for what it's done for Baidam and our vendor community, and we are continuing to invest, and our vendors are continuing to support the initiative. It's been an absolute game changer.
So first of all, Louise gives me goose pimples, and now you do, Neil. So we look forward to taking your money and giving it away to Louise. Now, thank you, Neil. Absolutely beautifully put, very eloquently put, and you inspire me with your words and how well you talk. And I need to take a leaf out of your book. I want to introduce
as well for us, Carl. Sorry, the other impact for us is that you know, if we're entering sales conversations that are faster, that are connected at a more executive level, and we can do commerce faster than we could through other means, it ultimately fulfills to our vision of uplifting and finding educational and training pathways for First Nations people to be relevant in our sector. So the impact for us of the program is one thing, and then commerce generated just fulfills our passion and vision of seeing more.
I can tell you, Neil, it makes absolute commercial sense, because all of our research is showing that the cost of actually getting a qualified lead to a salesperson is about $3,000. And if we're only charging $1,000 per meeting, then it's a third of the cost. So economically, it just makes absolute sense for businesses to look at this. And, you know, if we're giving a good portion of that away to helping some sick kids, then that's a lot of sick kids that can get helped. That means there's a lot of money being wasted out there. But I want to introduce Andrew Matuszczak. Andrew is a former CIO and Chief Technology Officer of Wesfarmers Industrials. Andrew is still today our most prized executive. He's taken the most meetings out of anybody. So I think he's at the leaderboard. He hates being number 2. But Andrew has been guiding us and giving me. I've known Andrew for 20 odd years from his days at Commonwealth Bank, and but Andrew has been for Meetings for Good a pillar of strength. He's introduced God knows how many vendors to come and talk to us. He's walked the conference floor and said, "What are you doing here? You should be talking about Meetings for Good." And he's taken, I think, 10 meetings for us, which you've actually raised more money than anybody else during those meetings. I think your earbuds might be dead. Yeah. It's like a Dalek. I am a Dalek.
This is bad.
Carl, there was one conference I was actually at with Andrew, and I think from the minute of standing with a vendor and texting Andrew, he was at the booth within about 13 seconds talking about the power of meetmagic. So I've seen him move.
Okay, wait till he puts his headphones back on. Hopefully you can hear us. I'm surprised he's actually still got a. Can you hear us, Andrew? Oh, you can hear us now?
Okay, here we go. Wait a minute.
There we go.
Okay, can you hear me now?
Yeah, we got you.
Beautiful. Okay.
Andrew, meet Louise, and Matt.
Yeah, no worries. Look, thanks for that, Carl. Look, this is, I think, you know, that wonderful story which Louise shared. I've also heard at that same breakfast that you mentioned, Carl, and it is something that does stick in your mind. And I think so. The cause here, there's nothing really to discuss. I mean, this is just powerful stuff, and we just got to do more of it. And thanks, Neil, for the compliment. So yeah, certainly that is what I've done. I mean, when we talked about this and we first started, you know, these conversations, and I spent some time with Carl speaking, and we sort of, I talked about the things of just how many people were trying to get at me every day with, you know, via different channels, you know, with cold calling, with, you know, emails, with LinkedIn messaging, with, you know, literally every form of media you can think of. And the reality is that all of those attempts were just that. They were people just trying to get that bite of the cherry just to start a conversation, but they weren't actually necessarily the people that could actually talk to my needs. They weren't necessarily the people that had decision-making capability, and there was no empowerment there. So there was no curation in the discussion of that meeting. And I think for me, that's one of the big differentiators. So, so now after using this platform, and I do have these meetings, I have had that many because of the fact that they are curated. I am getting the right people with the right decision-making ability, coming to me with the right story, actually helping me solve the problems I put in front of them, and then transforming into something that turns into ultimately a deal. And we've seen, that happen. I've had one particular instance where we came in after one conversation, we did a deal, and that led to 7 other deals across the group, and I think it was in the millions by the time we finished with regard to total contract value. So this platform does work.
Stop that. Let's just you sped over that far too quickly. So the value of the meeting that you had with that company, they bought one and they got $1 million contract out of it, and then 7 more.
That's right, pretty much. Well, it didn't equate to 7 million, but it certainly equated to millions. But yes, that is how it rolled. Yeah, it was quite amazing.
Which is really testimony to the whole point of, why would you spend all that money on the snouts in the trough lunches and round tables and stuff when you can just go and have a meeting with someone that makes a difference? And that's this is where it all started. I mean, I go to all these Gartner conferences and Forrester conferences and all those sorts of things, and certainly from an executive point of view, there's useful sessions around sharing stories and networking. But if I look from a vendor point of view, you got these big halls full of people spending an absolute fortune, A, to be there, and secondly, to fit out their stand, and then another fortune giving away swag that ends up in the rubbish bin, which obviously isn't particularly environmentally sustainable either, or eco-friendly. And that's the essence of the conference. And if you take that away and you say, actually, give me some curated experiences with the right people, it's a much better outcome for all. And so, that's the value for me. And I can only say, wonderful things around, the experiences that I've had. Well, it's been pretty much the theme right throughout every meeting. So every meeting that we set up, we actually do survey the execs and the vendors, and we get the feedback from them. One of my heroes is a guy called Brian Clough. He's a Nottingham Forest manager. He's dead now, but he's one of my heroes. One of the things that he used to say about his style of management was he's definitely not saying he's the best manager in the first division, but he's definitely in the top 1. Now, I'm saying the same thing about our meetings. I'm not saying they're the best in the world, but they're definitely in the top 1. And that's evident when we look at the 560 executives that have signed up and the feedback that we've had from them. Now, Andrew, there's 190,000 executives in Australia, and we've only got 500 of them signed up. So if we can get 10% of that 190,000, that's 19,000 of them. If we can get 10% of them taking a meeting for good, then there's a sustainable fundraising model for Louise and the Starlight, which is going to support every sick pig in the country right there. That's the dream for me, and I think we can get there because this is the starting point, and it's rolling now and gathering moss. So, I can't. And Neil, I'm going to have to boot you both off because I've got people backstage trying to get in and knocking on my door, sending me text. But I'm going to introduce. Just so everybody knows, the person who I'm going to bring on next has just written a book, and he's been a massive supporter for us. And one of the stories for me that really resonated was these meetings for good. Louise, you're going to love this. This is Andrew introduced Gabby to us in the first place, and so one of the people that booked the time with Gabby is the founder of Catch Group. He sold Catch Group to Andrew's company for, I don't know, $10 billion, whatever it was, and
300 million, just around 300 million, a bit less.
And the thing that really made me smile and made my heart sing about this whole thing was 6 people called me and said, "Do you mind if we all club together and go and meet with Gabby?" Because they all had their little side hustles as an e-commerce hustle, and they wanted to go and ask Gabby, how did you do it? Tell me what works. Tell me what didn't work. So the value of these meetings wasn't just about a vendor meeting a technology exec. It's all of a sudden become some mum and dad at home that have got some side hustles that want to go and talk to somebody and get some advice and save themselves 10 years of struggle. And that, I think, is what happens. So Andrew, Neil, all that, what do the kids do? The kids do all that love thing, don't they? The love part. So thank you for your support, and we'll see you afterwards. Cheers, Andrew. So right now, Andrew, I'm going to kick him out. Andrew, so I'm going to introduce Gabby, and who else can I pick in here? I'm going to introduce Liz as well at the same time. And you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to introduce Sean and Tamaryn and Andrew. And I think this is showing you now a little bit of growth. Gabby, mate, thank you so much for taking some time to join us. And I can't help but, you know, what I said to everybody who joined this LinkedIn Live, if you send us a message and join LinkedIn Live, I'm going to pay for one of Gabby's books to be sent to you. So, Gabby, thank you for all your support. You know, you've been an amazing support for us, not only just, you know, taking the meetings, but also helping us spread the word as well.
Thank you, Carl. It's great being here. You're doing an amazing job. And of course, I'm not going to let you pay for the books. And we'll see all of you guys today.
No, we'd love to. But tell us, what was your experience of the meeting that you had? Because, you know, for me, it was, I got the feedback that it was great.
So I had, I think, 4 or 5 meetings that you guys organized. I think were in Zoom and 3 were face-to-face. The one you're referring to was with a group of 5 people, and they were all separate sellers on Amazon. They belonged to an Amazon sellers group. And, you know, we like breaking rules at Catch, and we forgot about your rule of 45 minutes. And I think we spent almost 4 hours together one evening in Richmond, Melbourne, which was amazing. And, you know, we talk about win-win-win. What you've created is definitely a win-win-win. Obviously, the user wins, Starlight wins, and we always gain by learning from new people. As a matter of fact, the same organizers got me to speak to the full Amazon group. It actually happened 2 nights ago, and I spoke to about 400 people on Facebook Live. And I'm sure that most of them went after that conversation and bought a book. So everyone is winning. And by the way, 100% of the book's profits are going to 2 charities, including Second Bite and Good 360. So even more wins for everyone.
It's beautiful. If anyone's not got the book yet, it's called Catch of the Decade, and yeah. I'm halfway through it, and I can tell you the stuff in there. I've got pages and pages worth of notes that I've got in there that I want to start looking at, because there's no hold bar. It's like everything you need to know about taking a business and getting it up to scale, which is really, really cool. And I don't think anyone's ever done that in Australia. I don't think anyone's done that in the world. I think we all think we know what to do, but until you've actually done it and can document it, it's
a very unique book. We're so happy to be able to inspire the next generation of entrepreneurs. Reviews are unbelievable. Everyone is loving it. People are calling it the next Bible of Australian startups, small business, entrepreneurship, and so on. Let's do a magic trick, Carl. I'm going to pass you the book right now.
Oh!
Come on, Carl.
It's on my. I haven't got it here. It's on my desk.
All right. We
should. Now, there's a few people on here. I want to thank as well. Andrew Mitchell, bottom screen down there, works for MLC and has been literally like Andrew Matuszczak. He's been an absolute amazing supporter from an executive point of view, relentlessly taking meetings. I think you're in the top 3 or 4 as well, Andrew, in the amount of meetings you've done. So I know you'd love to meet Louise and Matt, because ultimately the time that you're giving is going to help the guys at the top of the screen. that way. What's your experience been like, Andrew?
Look, I just wanted to second what Andrew said previously. Look, the time it's about the time and getting to the right people. But I also think that it also gives you an opportunity to meet with partners and vendors who you never considered before, and you wouldn't normally consider in a normal day-to-day. I think in a larger organisation, you get very structured on who you deal with and who you work with and who you build relationships, and this gives you a view to look outside of that sort of square. And the second part of it is it gives you an ability to look at some of these other vendors who are thinking outside the box and really try to build that into some of your planning going forward. So that, to me, are 2 good outcomes that I typically get out of these types of meetings.
So you would actually consider it a valuable use of your time?
Yeah, it's a very valuable use of the time. Obviously, we focus typically on certain players who are very key from a spend perspective. But this gives you an opportunity to consider others that you wouldn't normally get access to, or you wouldn't get to actually speak to at the right levels of the organisation of the vendor organisation, and you wouldn't get a very good idea about what they're really about and what the product capabilities are. The other point too is I think also you find out through these meetings sometimes that you've already got those products in the organisation and you're probably not using or extracting value out of them as well. So it definitely gives you a heads up through that process as well.
Well, that's actually really interesting, because there are 4 people from technology vendors on here right now, and you've all been amazing supporters. You know, Kylie, Tamaryn, Liz, and Sean. I'd love to introduce you guys now and get your experience from you're paying customers of meetmagic, and I've got goose pimples all up and down my arms because, Liz has just bought another 20 meetings yesterday, and when I heard about that, I'm like, holy God! So actually, Liz and the Auth0 guys, Louise, I think they're up to like 70 or 80 meetings right now. Which, Liz, I can't thank you and Richard and the Auth0 guys enough for your support. And Kylie, you guys are up in the 40s or 50s, I think, at the moment, which has just been absolutely phenomenal. Tell us what your experiences have been like. I'm going to go to Liz first, then Kylie, then Tamaryn, and then I'd love to hear Sean's dulcet tones afterwards.
Yeah, awesome. Thanks, Carl. Well, great to be here, and great to see everybody on the call. I think our experiences are similar to what everyone else is going to say. Like you said, Carl, we spend a lot of money in our market departments on events that yield very little return often and cost a lot of effort and resources to even complete. And I think one of our sales guys in October last year reached out to me. He saw one of your posts, Carl, on LinkedIn, and he said, hey, do you think we could give this guy a try and book some meetings? They're $1,000. Do you have budget? And I was like, yeah, just put it on my credit card and we'll figure out the invoicing later. And that's what we did. And we've cracked way too many meetings. I think some of the Auth0 team have met Gabby, Andrew, and on the call. And, it's a testament to, we spend so much money on marketing programs, and to spend some of that money to do good is wonderful. And I think it makes us all feel that we're actually having some impact.
Louise, I can't tell you something. Let me just explain this. This is my chair. I've been sat in this chair for 9 years, okay? Trying to do stuff. And when Richard Miah, your VP of Asia, went online and booked 5 meetings on my platform, I sat back in this chair and I went, holy God, it's working. I punched the sky, because this was validation that people are prepared to pay that money in that way on that platform. And Gabby, you know this as an entrepreneur, when you get validation like that. And then came the scale problem, because Richard said, I want to book 20 meetings. I'm not going to put all them on my credit card. And so then he called you and said, can you go and book 20? We did an invoice thing. But that for me was one of the defining moments, I think, in this whole thing. So I can't thank you enough. And I know Louise and the Starlight team, Matuszczak, I passed it through the cloud, but on the wall behind him, that $300,000 is all down to you guys. So Kylie, tell us what's your experience been like. Tell us about your company, what you do, and what the experience has been like.
I love that you're always willing to let us give it a good plug. But at the end of the day, Netskope are just a cybersecurity vendor. Nobody, right now, this is not what that's for. I reckon it was a year ago that I came up to Sydney and I sat and I had lunch with yourself and Matt, and it was such a turning point for us. And so for Netskope, happy birthday from us to you. I think a year of doing what you do is incredible, and the energy and passion in which you do it with, Carl, is terrifying. But I will say, you're all going to agree with me on that, but we have sort of done upwards of 40 meetings, and for 40 meetings to know that that's over 600 sick Australian kids that have been helped. I can't see us slowing down anytime soon. And we only have 4 enterprise level sales reps in in Australia. So that's a huge amount of meetings for them to be taking, especially with the turn of COVID and going remote. I think what that's enabled us to do is, we've had executives take meetings and their own children have come in and sat on their lap. And if that doesn't I've got goosebumps thinking of Run. If that doesn't make you go, that's why you are doing this meeting, then nothing in this world will, because these executives have children, and this money is helping. It could be helping their little boy's best friend, for all we know. And I think that, you know, I echo the sentiment of what Andrew said earlier, is that it's the empowerment that's really been a success for us at Netskope, because these executives are choosing to meet with us. And I talk about that often when people ask me about this initiative. And I think that executives around the world, I know you're taking this to New Zealand and to UK, and we don't need a life where people are wined and dined to make deals anymore. We need Australians as business people and executives to step up and say, those days are gone. It's lovely to be wined and dined once we're a customer and say, thanks for your business, but we shouldn't have to wine and dine you for you guys to have the best, safest, securest software solution. You know, you should be able to take a meeting like this and really make a smart decision. So happy birthday. Thank you,
Kylie. So blessed. And I just know Shane Barr from Transform. He loves a long lunch anyway. But he also loves meetmagic, because he's one of my good friends. But Tamaryn, now you're a recent convert to Meetings for Good, aren't you? And by the way, everybody, this is not scripted. We've not told you to say anything. We've just asked for your opinions here, right? We've not even had conversations prior. We sent you an email saying join. So this is completely unscripted. Tamaryn, you've introduced me off the back of a few of your meetings into some of your key contacts in the UK, and I've been in contact with a company last night whose chairman is the Queen something. I know, the Queen. Sort of related to the Queen. And this is off the back. I'm like, hold on, where's this thing going? But Tamaryn, tell us what you do and about your experience that you've had so far.
Yeah, absolutely. And yeah, thanks, Carl. It's amazing to be part of such an incredible energy. As you say, it's not scripted, and just hearing everyone's stories, it's really impressive. And I'm, really, really proud to be part of it. So again, also like Kylie, not here to say what rapidMATION does. We kind of work in the intelligent automation space. But I had been following the Meetings for Good for about a year. I guess I was following yourself, and I'd seen some of the vendors on it. And I guess the concept really, really resonated with myself. I just thought, what a different and unique piece. We did only sign on as one of the sponsors last month already, so it's very new. But we've already how many we had? We've had 10 meetings already in the space of a month, which is pretty significant. And they have all just been, I wouldn't say they have been in a surprising way, but it's just the complete warmth and transparency that these meetings have from the get-go. The executives that we have met with, it's open. It's, I actually think Neil summarized it perfectly, right? He said it's the trust, the connectivity, and then also to your team, Carl, the speed, the way that the process works, how, it's seamless. You kind of get an email, you get, you don't have to do that much from the vendor's perspective, and then things just happen. And that in itself is quite unique, to be honest. Lots of the time you have to put in a lot more kind of elbow grease to get some things off the ground. But yeah, we kind of signed last month. We're 10 meetings in. We've just signed for another 10. So, everything from us is just really been awesome. And, we look forward to seeing some of the outcomes in the next few weeks.
So let me get with my calculator. So that's 20 meetings. That's $14,000 going to Starlight. So times that by 18. That's a lot of children.
Yeah.
That's a lot of children.
My Donald Trump magic marker out, and we'll be changing this very soon, no doubt. So,
well, Tamaryn, it's amazing because when Matt and I first set this thing up, we had this goal of doing 500 execs in the first year and raising $300,000. And because of the team, because of Maddie, because of Lily, because of Liv, because of Colin and Dylan and everybody else on the squad, they're just making it happen so much faster than we could have done by ourselves. You know what they say: if you want to go far, go alone. What's that? I can't remember. Yeah. But that check that Matt's got behind him, the plan was for this to just keep growing each year. So next year it's 600,000 or maybe $1 million the year after, and this becomes this snowball. Every year it just gets bigger and bigger and bigger. The more we get those 190,000 execs on. So can't thank you enough for your introductions and for your business.
Only a pleasure. Very happy to be part of it.
Sean, thanks for supporting.
No worries, thank you. No, it's nice to have an afternoon. Obviously, everyone is sick of Zoom meetings and everyone wants to get out. But no, here at Centrify, we're in the security space, and like my whole career, it's all been about startups, and startups need support. And to start something, you have to start somewhere. And I suppose from our point of view, obviously everyone's saying some really positive stuff, but the fact remains is here in Australia, it's a big country, and to connect with people, that's where it starts with. And we've all done lots of events, we've all done lots of whatever it is to get to humans, but this is about humans dealing with humans. And I think what this platform has enabled everyone to do is do what we want to do. Is, yes, we have something that we're selling. Yes, we want to talk to people who may be interested in, we can connect with the right people. So it shortens that whole process, and it saves a significant amount of time. But fundamentally, when I have spoken to the people I've met so far, and the first question I ask is, why are you doing this? And it's universal. Well, we would be doing this anyway, and this way there's a better outcome. And everyone's now telling everyone else about it. So you'll create a club, and you create more people who want to get involved, because ultimately people deal with people. And you know, if you can do that in a way that enables everyone to enjoy doing it and be able to put their arms around it, they'll be more inclined to have a conversation. And I think now, as the world opens up and you take this around the globe, you'll find that this will be warmly received, regardless if it's a piece of software or a service that you're selling. People generally just want to do the right thing all the time, and this is something that just enables them to do that. So I appreciate the fact that we've been involved, and we'll continue to be involved as well. So thank you.
No, we can't thank you enough, and it's been great. It's been great to be able to talk about our clients and our vendors and supporters, because when you talk about in the tech world or the startup world, we talk about a product to market fit. That's when you're actually generating good news stories, and people start talking about you. There was a QBR this morning in one of our companies. They call it a quarterly business review, where they all get together and share their stories. And a couple of the teams have mentioned about meetmagic, and if you're not using meetmagic, you're actually missing out. And that for us is the product to market fit starting to happen. And I know that same companies took us on stage in Vegas and put us up on the big screen to say, this is what we're doing in Australia. And so I think that product to market fit is really important. And the only way you get there is by doing a good job to your first customers. And I think, you guys have all been our first customers, and you'll always be our amazing first customers and our amazing supporters, and we'll always continue to show that love. So can't thank you enough. Louise, I know we've been 45 minutes almost, so I know you're a busy woman. Have you got any final thoughts?
I had to wait, and I'm impatient, and so I clicked it twice, and it went off and on. I just want to say thank you to everyone who has been involved, and to announce that as part of this movement that is now Meeting for Good, Meeting for Good is now a platinum partner at Starlight. So this is one of those partnerships which is significant, it is enduring, and our platinum partnerships enable us to be really forward thinking and plan what we can actually do in the coming years ahead. So from our perspective, it's incredibly important to have platinum partners, and it is wonderful to announce on this birthday celebration that those dreams of a year ago have really been granted. Those wishes have been granted for you, and we now have Meeting for Good as a platinum partner. So thank you so much. And to think that in this 12 months, you have enabled us to support nearly 8,000 children for the entire length of their stay in hospital. So, it doesn't matter if they're there for a week or if they're there for months. And, you know, I have met kids and had conversations with families, and they've been in hospital for 3 years straight without a day at home. And the difference that Starlight can make in that environment is just so incredibly important for the child and the greater family group. So thank you. Welcome as a platinum partner, and happy first birthday.
Thank you so much, Matt. I can't thank you enough. Have you got anything final to say? Because let's put this into perspective. Paul Keane, wherever you are, if you're watching this, it's your fault that we're all here, because you put me in touch with Matt, and Matt and I took it from there. Matt, have you got anything to say to Paul?
Well, thank you. As much as I'd love to say to Paul. So I think just to echo what Louise said, I think we're not going to stop. It's been an amazing year. We all know Carl's not going to stop in his amazing team. We just thank all the executives, all the vendors. It's just so amazing to hear all these stories. It's just such a wonderful vibe. And we only want to see this snowball grow, push the ripples out further. And we can still do with your help. And to get more executives, clearly there's a lot more out there. We want to get more media, more press, and just really help drive this home, because the impact for everyone in this amazing circle is fantastic. So again, just thank you so much for all your time and for giving your time today as well to help spread the word. Really make a difference.
Thank you, Matt. That's really, really grateful. And I think, you know, to wrap this up very quickly and very, very easily, I think as COVID has shown, I think we all, I think all of us need all the talent that we can get. And I think whether that's executive talent or whether it's technology-based talent, and combine that all together, I think we've shown that we can really keep supporting those in need the most. And that's really the beauty of meetmagic's vision. It's in the duality of what we're doing. You know, we exist really to help executives and individuals attain their promises at work through a regular business meeting, and thereby, I think, help society. I think to bring it all together, I hope in the years to come that everyone will be able to take a little bit of pride in how they've supported us in the beginning, and those who come after us can say that we've actually done a great thing. So I think the pride of who we are at meetmagic is not a part of our past. The pride is really what defines our present and I think our future. So with that, I can't thank you all enough for your time, and I'll do what my daughter Miah does and just give you a big love, one of those things. Thanks everybody. See you soon.